Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth, and fancy seeing you here in June. A very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. If you're feeling charitable, please smash the subscribe button and the like button, and please do follow me on Twitter at MoviesTVMad. And welcome back to the DCEU Daily. And we've got another article from Screen Rant, How Justice League Snyder Cut Ends. Interesting. This is by Andy Betterblatt. I can't say that surname, and I apologise, Andy. Shall we continue? Right, I just can't pronounce the last name. I'm sorry. With Zack Snyder's cut of Justice League coming to HBO Max in 2021, find out how the film was intended to end prior to Joss Whedon's changes. Warning, possible spoilers for Zack Snyder's Justice League. Zack Snyder's Justice League is officially coming to HBO Max in 2021, but many details about Snyder's cut's ending have already made it online in the last few years when the DC Extended Universe began in 2013 with Snyder's Man of Steel. It was the beginning of Warner Brothers' own DC Cinematic Universe that would build up to the iconic heroes coming together on screen in the 2017 ensemble following the release of Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. Things were drastically being altered behind the scenes in the way that would deeply affect Justice League. After a tragic family loss, Snyder stepped away from the movie as Joss Whedon stepped in to wrap it up. If that does wrap it up mean reshoot the whole movie? The studio's hiring of Whedon became Justice League's undoing as Snyder's vision was drastically altered to fit Warner Brothers' desire for a more light-hearted and traditionally fun superhero movie like Whedon's massive Marvel Studios hits, The Avengers. Following a box office disappointment and a negative response from critics, a movement to get the original Justice League movie began in the form of the release, the Snyder Cut. After almost years of fan campaigning, Snyder's original version of the DC picture is coming next year on HBO Max. Given what the Whedon cut of Justice League left things open-ended with the superhero team now established, Snyder's first story would have concluded a little differently. Thanks to concept art, bits of leaked footage, and Snyder's teasing cryptic comments on Vero, fans have been able to get a taste of how Snyder's Justice League would have ended. While the waiting time to see the whole finished thing will be at least a year, here's what is known about the Snyder Cut ending in comparison to the 2017 version that was released in theatres. What was meant to be a significant part of the film was instead limited to a single name drop in the 2017 Justice League cut. The iconic DC Comics villain Darkseid, Steppenwolf, his uncle, instead served as the main baddie. But originally Darkseid was going to serve as the master pulling the strings. Darkseid's early days would have also been established through the history lesson segment where fans would see Yuxa's, Darkseid's birth name, invading Earth the first time around. And actually quite interesting, hang on a minute, my phone's gone mad. 1 minute, please. That went absolutely crazy. I touched something. Anyway, we continue. Even though Steppenwolf would have continued to play a massive part in Justice League before being defeated by the heroes, his original exit was a lot more brutal compared to what was seen in 2017. Not only would he have been impaled by Aquaman's trident, Wonder Woman would have finished him off by decapitating him, following his head being sliced off. Ubuntu would have connected Darkseid and Justice League to one other, with Steppenwolf's head rolling through the tube, opening all the way to his nephew's feet on Apocalypse. This would have set up Darkseid's larger role as an antagonist for the planned Justice League 2, that was put on hold seeing his uncle defeated, let alone his head rolling down to his feet, would have given Darkseid the fuel needed to drive his rage and hatred towards the Justice League in the sequel. You know, the more I think about that film, the sequel, and that we didn't get it, it just makes me angry. One of the earliest teasers in the marketing for Justice League was the Unite the Seven tagline, which hinted that a seventh member would become part of the team, with Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, The Flash, and Aquaman already in play. The seventh slot was saved for Green Lantern, but since Whedon's cut never saw the Emerald Knight appear once, the mention of 7 heroes marks another major cut from the film's ending. Even though Hal Jordan is the Green Lantern that joins the team in lore, Hal was nowhere to be seen in the live-action feature. While the post-credit scenes in Whedon's cut of Justice League were about teasing the Injustice League and showing the Flash and Superman race to see who is the fastest, the Snyder Cut was going to introduce 2 Green Lanterns in a fun cameo. Wow! According to VFX artists back in 2017, I didn't actually know this, Green Lantern Corps members Kilowatt, Tom or Ray were supposed to show up in one of the post-credit scenes. I love those guys. Their cameo would have had them visiting Bruce at his lake house. Since it got scrapped even before Snyder left, it's hard to say why they would be turning to Bruce. It's likely it would have something to do with Darkseid, and it's another concept that may be included in the HBO Max release. How do you cut this? How do you Stonewall cut this? I don't get it, Kevin Tsujihara. Suits know nothing about films. Critics and bloggers know nothing about films. And this is the problem, Warner Brothers and Kevin Tsujihara. You let them run your narrative in your show. And you all know now it was a mistake. You did what they wanted. You did the Justice League, and it failed. Another key scene from Justice League that would foreshadow Darkseid's bigger role in Justice League 2 was going to be Cyborg's vision during Clark's resurrection, while trying to bring Clark back from the dead. Victor would have seen another important moment from the Nightmare reality, which was one of the biggest teases that Snyder set up in Batman v Superman, borrowing elements from Injustice Gods Among Us, but apparently Snyder knows nothing about the comics. He does, obviously. This timeline was meant to play out in its fullest throughout Snyder's Justice League films. That's where Darkseid would have come to play an even larger role following his brief encounter with the team in the first movie. Justice League 2 was being positioned as the darkest chapter in the director's trilogy. In DC lore, one of the darkest, most powerful weapons is the AntiLife Equation, the unlimited formula that is able to control the minds of any living being in the universe, while it's literally a mathematical equation in the comics. It's unclear how Snyder would have adapted it into the DCEU as part of the sequels. However, given that Snyder essentially hinted to fans, do the math, when asked on Vero if the anti-life equation was being teased, it seems very safe to say that he would be sticking closely to the source material. But apparently, Snyder doesn't like the comics and isn't faithful to the comics. I think Snyder's DCU is more faithful to the comics than I've ever seen in live action before. Viewers may recall how Flash told Bruce in Batman v Superman that Lois Lane was the key in relation to the grim future he had come from, before vanishing into the Speed Force again. The thing that would set up the Nightmare timeline was Darkseid killing Lois when boom tubing into the Batcave. This event is what creates the ruthless Superman that Bruce saw in his dreams, as Lois's death makes Clark succumb to the Darkseid's anti-life equation as they take over the planet together. I'm a bit unclear if we're talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League or Zack Snyder's Justice League 2. We want to see all this stuff. We want all 3 chapters. If it's in TV episode form, I'm fine with it. This is what I've been talking about. HBO Max, DCEU and Cinematic over there. It works. It's a great idea, even if it is my own. But as I've said before, they weren't talking from November to May before announcing just about the Snyder Cut. There's a plan here. One of Cyborg's big storylines in the first Justice League film was his complicated relationship with his father, Silas, who helped revive his son from a mother box and turned Victor into the cyber-based tech hero that joins the Justice League. Whedon's version of the movie saw Silas at the end together with his son, with the two of them working to improve their relationship. Their final scene sees evolving his appearance to look closer to his design in the comic books. Silas was actually supposed to die in the original version of Justice League, that he was, yes, which is one of the things that Snyder has revealed on his Vero page almost a year ago. The director shared a powerful image where a devastated Victor is forced to watch his dad die in an explosion likely caused by the mother box. Despite this being one of the darkest moments of the film originally, Silas's fate is completely different in the theatrical cut. Yes, because they didn't want to do rich, deep cuts, too dark. With the Snyder Cut now finally on the track to be getting its overdue release, a lot of questions and mysteries will get to be resolved. Given how much Snyder has already revealed, it will be intriguing to see what else he had planned for fans of the movie. Despite having shared a lot on his Vero page, it's likely that it's not even half the things that Snyder was intending to do with his Justice League cut have yet been unveiled. Wow, I like that article. Is it Andy? I think it was Andy anyway. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. There's some things on there I didn't know. I didn't know about the post-credit scene with the 2 Green Lanterns. That is awesome. So exciting. But what do you think? Is this the kind of stuff you want to see? But maybe to see all this stuff, we need Justice League 2 and Justice League 3 on HBO Max. They need to give Zack the green light. Not just to complete, but to continue this arc and keep on going with it. Comment down below, like, share and subscribe, and I'll be back throughout the day with even more DCEU Daily. See you again soon.